not because plutonium is radioactive.
We just don't know what it might do to the female reproductive
Your
system.
reproductive system is more exposed than mine.
You're not helping. I've been asking for calculations on the implosion lenses for weeks.
It's your job, Teller. I'm engaged in the research.
On a hydrogen bomb we're not even building.
Won't work with that man.
Let him go. Kirsty, you replace Nedemar. Seth, I'm putting you on plutonium. Lily, you go work for Kirsty because he needs you. Fuchs, you take Teller's role. I'm putting you exclusively on the implosion device.
They won't let me leave.
No, I won't let you leave. Stay here. Research what you want. Whatever. We'll meet to discuss.
You've left physics behind many, many years ago.
Once a week. 1 hour. You and me.
Now raise this fucking barrier.
An H-bomb is 1,000 times the power of an A-bomb. It's a weapon of mass genocide.
Izzy, draw some circles on this side of the map where they would target us, starting with New York. That's D.C.
It's a weapon of attack with no defensive value.
Oh, we're finally getting some insight as to what all the pounding is.
Yep.
Or maybe not.
An hydrogen bomb can be made to work, Oppie. You know that.
I don't believe we should commit all our resources to that chance.
Then how would you have Truman reassure the American people?
Simply by limiting the spread of atomic weapons through international control on nuclear energy. If we build a hydrogen bomb, the Russians will have no choice but to build their own.
Based on information gathered from a spy at Los Alamos.
No spy at Los Alamos.
Gentlemen, let's not get sidetracked.
He was about to pick it up again, it looks like.
At this point, I'd like the committee members to meet in privacy to finalize our recommendations.
I'm just not sure you want to go down this road.
With respect, we are the advisory committee. We will give them our advice.
William Borden, during the war, I was a pilot. One night, flying back from a raid, I saw an amazing sight, like a meteor. I can't help but imagine what it will be for such an enemy rocket to carry an atomic warhead.
Oh, look at him imagine that stuff.
Mm-hmm. He's seeing all of it. He's in the plane.
Well, let's make sure we're not the ones to make that possible.
Are you guys getting the vibe that he's like still moving forward, but knowing there's a lot of regret to come?
I think he already knows where it's going to end up.
How was Mr. Borden able to put together such a detailed indictment? He was no longer a government employee, yet he appears to have had unlimited access to Dr. Oppenheimer's file. Might Mr. Nichols have given him access to the file?
Oh.
Is it your intention to suggest that Dr. Oppenheimer is disloyal to the United States?
I've always assumed, and still assume, that he's loyal to the United States. I believe this, and I shall believe it until I see very conclusive proof to the opposite.
Do you or do you not believe that Dr. Oppenheimer is a security risk?
The gadget, they keep calling it.
If I may, when Hitler blew his brains out in that bunker, it is my humble opinion that there is no need for that bomb to be seen anywhere except for that test site.
Okay, so this is...
Where the Japanese fight hard.
Their defeat seems assured.
Not if you're a GI preparing to invade. We can end this war.
How do we justify using this weapon on human beings?
This is a hugely debated topic with one general narrative, save lives.
Our work here will ensure a peace mankind has never seen. A peace based on the kind of international cooperation that Roosevelt always envisaged.
Oh, oh boy.
Yep. 2 years and $1 billion worth?
Well, hard to put a price on it.
Not really, just add up the bills. 80 babies delivered the first year. This year we've had 10 a month.
Wow.
Huh. Here we go.
Head down. Everyone. Folks.
Yeah.
What do we call the test? Batter my heart. Three-person God. What? Trinity.
You insisted on bringing on your brother Frank, a known communist.
Former communist.
You brought a known former communist onto America's most secret and important defense project.
I knew my brother could be trusted. Absolutely.
And you felt your judgment was sound on who on the team could be trusted.
Head down. Okay. Everybody ready?
This Woodle.
Yeah.
Handle it.
Ooh!
Yeah.
Oh, the sound wave.
Sound wave.
Oh, I love that.
We leave for Washington in the morning. We're gonna give him a date.
Oh, look at that thing.
If we don't act now, they're going to use this thing against Japan. We booked a meeting with Truman, but somebody killed it. You're meeting the Secretary of War.
Just because we're building it doesn't mean we get to decide how it's used.
History will judge us, Robert. In Chicago, we put together a petition.
I'm not getting into
20 or 30,000 dead?
Yes, but don't underestimate the psychological impact of an atomic explosion. A pillar of fire, 10,000 feet tall.
Jeez.
Is there no way to demonstrate a bomb to Japan to provoke surrender?
We intend to demonstrate it in the most unambiguous terms. Twice. Once to show the weapon's power, and a second to show that we can keep doing this until they surrender.
I've taken Kyoto off the list due to its cultural significance to the Japanese people. Also, my wife and I honeymooned there. It's a magnificent city.
It's one of the only ones that wasn't destroyed in the entire war.
Let me make this simple for you, gentlemen. According to my intelligence, which I cannot share with you, the Japanese people will not surrender. Informing him of our breakthrough and presenting it as a means to win the war need not make unkeepable promises. But the Potsdam Peace Conference in July will be President Truman's last chance to have that conversation. Can you give us a working bomb by then?
Absolutely. We will test fire before the conference.
Look at that. Wasn't Nolan quoted saying like we're basically building one? Someone let me know.
With him, I have no doubts, but you guys let us know.
And base camp is 10 miles south here. And there's a further observation post on that hill 20 miles away.
20 miles.
So I'll be here at South Observation Point with Frank and Kostikowski. You'll all be assigned to base camp.
Oh, the score on this.
Yeah, they crushed it on the score. Can't wait to see who the composer was.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Why
my
don't you
God.
Just push it off the back of the truck while you're at it.
Time to stand behind your science, Hans. Literally.
Yeah, that little like static.
It's like it's the fusion itself, or and all the nuclear.
It's almost like it's a wick kind of coming to its end.
Nice and easy, nice and easy. There's the core. Oh my God.
What's with the radiation cloud? Without high winds, it should settle within 2 to 3 miles.
It's crazy to think that Nolan was able to turn that into a character itself.
Okay, stop. Everybody, mattresses. Put the mattress underneath.
Mattresses.
Well, it's not like they have a crash pad.
Is there anything else that might stop us?
Yeah.
Just the weather.
Just the weather that you can't control.
And that's a little windier than they wanted, too.
They practically need perfect conditions.
I'll send a message. It's gone our way. Take in the sheets.
Well, that didn't look good.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's only a few feet up, Andrew.
Those high winds.
With that?
I guess they did build a whole town in 2 months. Kitchen or no kitchen.
Office taking a very modest 3 kilotons. Telesing with 45. Wanting 20,000 tons of TNT. And does anyone want the side action on atmospheric ignition?
Oh my God.
Are you saying we'll have to delay?
Saying it would be prudent.
This weather hasn't reached the site?
Yeah.
If we fire these detonators and they don't trigger a reaction, 2 years worth of plutonium will be scattered across White Sands.
A month of my salary against $10. Says it nice.
Oh, that's what we're doing, taking bets?
Wow.
But remember, these guys are some of the...
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm
They
saying,
don't just
though.
wing it when they're making this. They're saying this stuff.
Let's get to South Observation.
Pull them out.
We can make our determination there.
Whoa, they're going right now?
Yeah, get the hell away.
I gotta get word to Truman by 7. Our window's closing. What is this doing? Raining, blowing lightning. For how long, damn it? Hold strong. It'll break before dawn. How could you know that? I know this desert. Storm cools overnight. Just before dawn, storm breaks. It could be rain, but schedule as late as possible. 5:30. Sign your forecast. If you're wrong, I'll hang you. 5:30.
It's going at 5:30, huh?
Yep.
I'm betting on 3 kilotons. Anything less, I won't get what it is. What did Fermi mean by atmospheric ignition?
Well,
The chain reaction from an atomic device might never stop. Was Fermi still taking side bets on it? Call it gallows humor.
Yeah, that's true.
Are we saying there's a chance that when we push that button, we destroy the world?
Nothing in our research over 3 years supports that conclusion, except it's the most remote possibility. Chances are near zero.
Near zero. Yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance?
0 would be nice.
Hey, you got off of Mars.
Yeah.
1 hour, 58 minutes. Well, no.
Yeah, they didn't even get any sleep.
No, how could you?
Knowing you could quite possibly destroy the world? Oh my God.
There's the lights. The B-52s.
No, it's just a sprinkle.
Oh.
It's getting real.
Everybody take a welder's glass. Everybody take a welder's
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, that's all you need for your eyes.
I'm thinking about other parts. Can you believe it's in the hands of Josh and Drake?
Great sound design. Second
Yep.
they turned that on,
You heard that buzzing?
the radio buzz.
Yep. The violins right now.
So tense. I know what happens when it's so big.
I know.
Still.
20 minutes. On the leg, please. Final.
The sunscreen he's putting on.
Stops the UV. And both stops the glass.
Try not to blow up the world.
Try. I mean, it's already, it's going to happen or not.
Yeah. It's now or never. 19 minutes and counting.
The detonators don't charge. When the voltage drops below 1 volt, you hit that button, you abort. Understood?
Understood.
Dude, all the moving pieces in this right now.
Yeah.
Like one mistake from somebody.
Yep.
Everybody down.
The tension here is just unbelievable, guys.
60 seconds to detonation.
Think Huey did a hit a V quick?
Here we go.
Detonator charged.
Nolan, you crushed it on this tension here, man.
Is that guy not going to wear anything on his eyes?
Well,
he said the windshield will
yeah,
block
windshield,
the UV.
windshield, yeah.
7, 6.
Oh, this guy. He's done.
1.
Holy shit. Oh.
Gonna get the mushroom cloud.
This is crazy.
And now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Whoa. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
there's the shockwave.
Ooh, here comes the windshield.
Ah!
Oh, that was intense. This guy and his hand drum, seriously.
Only $10. Get a message to Kitty. You can't say anything. Tell her to take in the sheets.
No.
Yep,
Taking
that's
the sheets.
quite a shot there.
If they detonated too high in the air, the blast won't be as powerful.
With respect, Dr. Oppenheimer, we'll take it from here.
Oh. Okay, after all that.
Just ignore the guy who made it.
Yep.
Should I come with you to Washington?
What for?
Well, you'll keep me informed.
Of course.
Remember what that guy said?
Yep.
They need us until they don't.
Yep.
The fact that we built this bomb does not give us any more right or responsibility to decide how it's used than anyone else.
But we're the only people who know about it.
I've told Simpson the various opinions of the community.
But what's your opinion?
Once it's used, nuclear war, perhaps all war, becomes unthinkable.
Until somebody builds a bigger one.
Oh, what a line.
Yeah.
I thought they would call.
It's only the 5th.
And it's the 6th. Anything?
I like how I keep playing the chains of the truck driving away.
An American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. The bomb had more power than 20,000 tons of TNT.
I think one of the wisest things I ever did was when I selected the director of Los Alamos.
We have spent more than $2 billion.
The bleacher stumps.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yep.
what it was.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
The world will remember this day.
Wow. That's pretty cool that the way they did that there.
That background.
But I'll bet the Japanese didn't like it.
Wow.
Yeah, now he's gonna imagine everything.
Are we gonna get the viewpoint from Hiroshima?
I'm so proud. So proud of what you have accomplished. I just wish we had it in time to use against the Germans.
Oh, wow. This is... We've just seen the effects of it.
Oh.
His conscience is taken over.
Dr. Oppenheimer.
Oh. Yeah, Gary.
Oh, we got Gary Oldman.
I don't think I recognized it right away when they showed him earlier.
I feel that I have blood on my hands.
You think anyone in Hiroshima or Nagasaki gives a shit who built the bomb? They care who dropped it. I did. Hiroshima isn't about you. Don't let that crybaby back in here.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. I mean, is that... I kind of wonder if that is true, like a true interaction, or if it was embellished a bit.
It was a bottle of beer. Making atomic weapons, in fact, you do.
I was the spokesman, but the opinion among scientists was unanimous.
None of that stopped Robert from pushing the GAC to recommend arms control instead of the H-bomb.
My son and his fiancée are desperate to meet the father of the atomic bomb, so...
But Dad...
Yeah.
The atomic bombings were not the last act of World War II, but the first act of this Cold War with Russia.
Which physicist?
I think you knew him. Patrick Blackett.
That dude. That's right.
Stopped off to get this. Seems pretty favorable.
There's Oppenheimer. What's the caption?
J. Robert Oppenheimer. Strauss fought and the U.S. won.
That'll work.
Those were your words from the other day.
We needed to pivot.
But how would you know what Time magazine is going to write?
Henry Luce is a friend.
Strauss got friends in all the places.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't Nichols or Hoover, one of Truman's guys. It was you. You gave the file to Borden. You set him on Oppenheimer. You convinced him.
Borden didn't take any convincing.
Take your time, use the entire file. Write up your conclusions, send them to the FBI.
The material's obviously extensive, but there's nothing new here.
Your conclusions will be, and they'll have to be answered.
He was in the room.
I've talked it over with Hoover. He'll hold McCarthy at bay while you do this with the AEC. Trial? No trial. You can't give Oppenheimer a platform. You can't martyr him.
Wow.
Destruction of Oppenheimer's credibility so he can never again speak on matters of national security.
Wow.
Shabby little room. Far from the limelight.
Here it is.
Tell Oppenheimer his security clearance must not be renewed, but offer him the chance to appeal. As you can see, Robert, it's not yet signed.
May I keep this?
No. When he appeals, and trust me, he will, I appoint a board. They will, of course, have counsel.
Prosecutor?
In all but name. Who? Roger Robb. Ouch. Robb will have security clearance to examine Oppenheimer's file, as will the Gray Board. Defense counsel will not.
It's all set up.
So-called derogatory information in your indictment.
And you know what's funny? She's been right all along.
Yep.
What is it you said? This is just how the game is played.
Forgive my naivete.
Amateurs seek the sun, get eaten. Power stays in the shadows.
Oh,
what a line.
What a line.
May I keep this?
No. If you do decide to appeal, then they'll have to send you a copy. Take my car and driver Einsest.
Oh, does he just realize it right here?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sorry it's come to this, Robert. I think it's wrong.
Nichols wants me to fight so he can get it all on the record. Strauss wants me to walk away.
Strauss knows that you can't do that. You'd be accepting the charges. Robert, we have to fight.
This won't be a fair fight.
During your interview with Boris Pash in 1943, did you refer to microfilm?
No.
Tab 11, page 1, paragraph.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I would like to know what document Mr. Robb is quoting from and if we might be furnished with a copy.
The document is classified, Mr. Garris.
I think we should get back to first-hand information.
It is first-hand.
How so, Roger?
There was a recording of the interview.
You let my client sit here and potentially perjure himself.
Whoa.
Just getting railroaded.
Is this proceeding interested in entrapment or in truth? If it's truth, where's the disclosure? Where's the witness list?
Mr. Garris, this isn't a trial, as you are well aware. Evidentiary rules do not apply. We are dealing with national security.
I fail to see how national security prevents the prosecution from providing...
Perhaps we are in need of a brief recess. You have my words. If you say they're from a transcript, then I'll accept it. I've already explained I made up a cock and bull story.
Then why would anyone make up such an elaborate story?
Because I was an idiot.
Why lie?
Well, clearly with the intention of not revealing who the intermediary was.
Your friend, Hakon Chevalier, the communist? He's still your friend?
Yes.
Oof.
That
didn't want to
probably.
say that.
Thank you for coming. You know who else the prosecution has called?
Heller, obviously. They've asked Lawrence.
What did he say?
He wasn't going to help them, but...
What?
Strauss told him that you and Ruth Tolman have been having an affair for years.
Yep.
She died of a broken heart.
That's absurd.
What's heart?
Broken heart. Wish I'd never found out.
I know him quite well.
Well enough to speak to the bearing of his loyalty and character.
Dr. Oppenheimer is a man of upstanding character, and he is loyal to the United States, to his friends, to the institutions of which he is part. Eat.
Still bringing him oranges.
Oranges. Yeah, you got to get your vitamin C.
What was that?
Nothing to worry about.
But I've known Secretary Strauss for many years, and I feel the necessity to express the warm support for science and scientists Lewis has shown.
Well, break now, unless there's any immediate business.
Senator, I'd like to once again request that we're furnished with a list of witnesses.
And I will remind the nominee that we don't always have that information in advance.
Our next scheduled witness, Dr. Lawrence, has apparently come down with colitis.
Is that something you really come down with?
Yeah.
Well, you heard his inflection in his voice. That was very questionable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't just come down with colitis.
How long has counsel been in possession of this letter?
I don't think I should be subject to cross-examination by you, Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Garrison, given that we on the board have all read the letter, wouldn't it be better to have it in the record? Let's proceed.
Jeez.
Most of the scientists in this country would prefer to see Mr. Strauss completely out of government.
You're referring to the...
Because of the personal vindictiveness he demonstrated against Dr. Oppenheimer.
Oh. What a sequence of verbiage there.
Yeah.
Excuse me, gentlemen, if I become stirred, but I am.
Initiated and carried through largely through the animus of Lewis Strauss. Strauss turned to the personnel security system in order to destroy Oppenheimer's effectiveness.
Was he behind it?
Oh.
In a great number of cases, I have seen Dr. Oppenheimer act in a way which was, to me, exceedingly hard to understand. I thoroughly disagreed with him in numerous issues, and his actions frankly appeared to me confused and complicated. To this extent, I feel I want to see the vital interests of this country in hands which I understand better and therefore trust more.
Thank you, Doctor.
What?
You shook his f***ing hand? Oh, I would have spit in his face.
I'm not sure the board would have appreciated that.
You shaking Teller's hand. You need to stop playing the martyr.
Under the current AEC guidelines, would you clear Dr. Oppenheimer today?
Here we go.
Under my interpretation of the Atomic Energy Act, which did not exist when I hired Dr. Oppenheimer in 1942, I would not clear him today if I were on the commission.
Good. Thank you, General. That is all.
But I don't think I'd clear any of those guys.
That's all.
No, they got all they needed to get to say, yeah.
Ability in the selection or the clearance of Klaus Fuchs, did he?
No, none at all.
And you wouldn't want to leave this board with any suggestion today that you're here questioning his basic loyalty to the United States and the operation of Los Alamos?
By no means. I hope I didn't lead anyone to believe otherwise for an instant.
Thank you, Jim.
That was like, yeah, we just ignored that statement, but it's on the record.
Yeah. We heard what we needed to hear.
Yep, that'll be cut off.
You shouldn't keep them waiting.
She'll be here.
Do you even want her here?
Only a fool or an adolescent presumes to know someone else's relationship, and you're neither. Kitty and I, we're grown-ups. We've walked through fire together. She'll live fine.
Will you describe your views on communism as pro, anti, neutral?
Since 1936, since
He was interrogated by a prosecutor who used all the tricks of a rather ingenious legal background.
You are charging now.
Did you have a Communist Party membership card?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
It's just it was also very long ago, Mr. Rob, wasn't it?
Not really.
Long enough to have forgotten.
Did you return the card or rip it up?
The card whose existence I've forgotten.
The Communist Party membership card.
Haven't the slightest idea.
Look at her turn it on.
Yeah.
Spread all over the world, and I've believed this since I left the party 16 years ago.
But
17 years ago. My mistake.
But you
Sorry, 18.
Are you familiar with the fact your husband was making contributions to the Spanish Civil War as late as 1942?
I knew that Robert gave money from time to time. I think you mean through Communist Party channels, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Then would it be fair to say that this meant that by 1942 your husband had not stopped having anything to do with the Communist Party? You don't have to answer that yes or no. You can answer that any way you wish.
I know that. Thank you.
Intellectual communist and you plain old regular commie.
Well, I couldn't answer that one.
I couldn't either.
She's
Look at
starting to
her,
work
just
'em.
on fire.
Yeah, went
Wow.
over.
Wow.
And outcome, why put yourself through more of it? I have my reasons.
He's not going down without a fight like always. He fought for everything he's done in his life. Hey, LB.
He has a point.
I'm not sure you understand, Albert.
No, I left my country never to return. Then tell them to go to hell.
Wow, who would have...
It's now a trial.
About a trial.
Not good he's telling everyone you initiated the hearings.
You can't prove a goddamn thing. You certainly can't prove that I gave the file to Borden.
We're not in court, sir. There's no burden of proof.
Right, they're not convicting.
Do people need a reason to do the right thing? As he sees it.
I told you.
Well, as he sees it.
From that first meeting, I don't know what Oppenheimer said to him that day, but by this time, it didn't even meet my eye. Oppenheimer knows how to manipulate his own little almost. He preyed on the naivete of scientists who thought they get a say in how we use their work.
When it was suggested that it be the policy of the United States to make these things at all costs without regard to the balance between these weapons and atomic weapons as part of our arsenal.
Well, then you knew, did you not, that by dropping that atomic bomb on the target you selected, that thousands of civilians would be killed or injured. Is that correct?
Yes, not as many as turned out.
Oh. How many were killed or injured? 70,000 at both Hiroshima and...
110,000 in both.
On the day of each bombing?
Yes.
And in the weeks and years that followed?
It has been put at somewhere between 50 and 100,000.
220,000 dead at least.
Yes.
Any moral scruples about that?
Terrible ones.
But yet you testified in here that the bombing of Hiroshima was very successful.
Technically successful.
Oh, technically it was very successful.
And it is also alleged to have helped end the war.
Would you be supportive of the dropping of a hydrogen bomb on Hiroshima?
It made no sense at all.
Why?
The target is too small.
Well, supposing there had been a target in Japan big enough for a thermonuclear weapon, would you have been opposed to the dropping of it?
This was not a problem with which I was confronted.
Well, I'm confronting you with it now, sir. Thermonuclear weapon on Japan because of moral scruples.
I believe I would, sir.
Did you oppose the dropping of an atomic bomb on Hiroshima because of moral scruples?
I set forth our arguments against dropping it, but I did not endorse.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Then you would have built the H-bomb too, wouldn't you?
I could.
I didn't ask you that, Doctor. And the GAC report which you...
This guy's just going off on him.
If we did it, they would have to do it. Our efforts would only fuel their efforts, just as it had with the atomic bomb.
Just as it had with the atomic bomb, exactly. No moral scruples in 1945, plenty in 1949.
Oh, that was intense.
That was...
The way they did that sound.
When it became clear to me that we would tend to use any weapon we had.
J. Robert Oppenheimer, the martyr. I gave him exactly what he wanted. To be remembered for Trinity. Not Hiroshima, not Nagasaki. He should be thanking me.
Well, he's not.
He's so over his whole performance.
Yeah.
Where's the crowning moment of my career about to become the most public humiliation of my life?
This board, having heard testimony from you and many of your current and former colleagues, has come to the unanimous conclusion that you are a loyal citizen. However, we have voted 2-1 to deny the renewal of your security clearance. A full written opinion with a dissent from Mr. Evans will be issued to the AEC in the coming days. That is all.
Don't they get the sheets?
Don't take in the sheets.
Interesting that still after all that time, they still use that code.
Yep.
Who were the holdouts?
There were 3, led by the junior senator from Massachusetts. Young guy trying to make a name for himself, didn't like what you did to Oppenheimer.
What's his name?
Kennedy.
Did you think that if you let them tar and feather you, the world would forgive you? It won't.
Let's see.
You told me I'd be okay.
Yeah, well, I didn't have all the facts, did I?
Here's a fact.
Jeez.
I'm on my chest last year because I've always done what's right for this country. They don't want me in the cabinet room. Well, that's fine. Maybe they should just invite Oppenheimer instead.
Maybe they will.
Wow.
Scientists against me one by one, starting with Einstein. I told you about that. Einstein starting by the pond.
You did, but you know, sir, since nobody really knows what they said to each other that day, is it possible they didn't talk about you at all? About something more important.
Oh, check your ego.
Well, it's almost like a story he had to feed himself to get this all in. Oh, here we go.
Now it's your turn to deal with the consequences of your achievement.
Oh, wow, that's heavy.
Give you a medal.
Look how...
Pat you on the back. Tell you all is forgiven. Just remember.
Teller's there.
No.
She shook
She
their
does
hand.
not forget.
Nope.
We thought we might start a chain reaction that would destroy the entire world. I believe we did.
Oh.
Jesus.
There is no
What a
way
film
that was 3 hours.
No,
I could have.
no.
They could have doubled it in length, and it wouldn't have mattered.
No,
I
I
could have
mean-
watched the whole thing.
Seriously, what a
Easy.
film.
There's no like, if there anything that they would say throughout history that happened after?
Yeah, I was wondering if they would have any notes or anything.
Oh my God.
Follow up or whatever.
Yeah. Ludwig
Great job.
Yeah.
crushed it.
Oh, did they
That
ever?
was a great job. Music.
Crushed it on the score. And shout out to the editor. I already forgot the name, but shout out to the editor on this film.
Boy, the number of actors who just delivered in every scene was outstanding.
David Krumholtz. That was my lady. Wow.
All right, folks. Well, Oppenheimer absolutely delivered on so many levels. I almost think that I can't comment on this movie because it was so good. I think that anything I might say is just going to be like, oh, well, of course. You know, like, who are you to judge this movie and how good it was? But my goodness, where do you even begin? First off, let's obviously give the credit to Christopher Nolan, just a visionary of a director. I don't know if you can give the guy enough praise for the team that he's able to bring together and just make a film like this happen. Every actor absolutely crushed every scene that they were in every second. I mean, I don't know how Cillian Murphy doesn't win every award there is this year for his work in this movie. It was absolutely incredible. Like, there are movies and then there's Oppenheimer. And if, to me, this might be, I know, granted, I know I just saw it and, it's an emotional thing, whatever, but this could be one of the best movies ever made. Like, hands down, when you look at the acting, the music, the story, the way everything was done. This was a 3-hour movie, and there wasn't a second where the tension let up or any of us were like, oh, all right, we're going to get on with this or what? I mean, there was absolutely none of that. Just truly incredible. The action and I shouldn't even say the word action. That's not the right word, but the movie and the way it was delivered, and even the first 5 minutes, I was so sucked in. I just knew that this was going to be a complete banger. And the thing that I guess the praise of the movie aside, I'll keep going with that and then kind of get into some of the individual things that I liked. Of course, the musical score was amazing. We talked about that. The editing was incredible. The actors, Christopher Nolan's vision, the use of visually how they did everything visually with the cameras that he likes to use was absolutely stunning. And I don't think there's any other words short to describe it. A number of the things that I liked that really caught me was this was a huge cast, right? And given the time frame that it was in. And you'll notice a lot of the actors dressed very similar and looked very similar, and they did a brilliant thing to help you to keep track of who was who. Now, obviously, Robert Downey Jr. and a number of the characters or a number of the actors that we know obviously stood out to us. But like the little things, like when they mentioned Oppenheimer's professor, what did they do? They had him in a scene where he bit the apple. So immediately you made that connection in your head. Oh yeah, I know exactly who that guy is. I don't even have to think about it because of the scene earlier in the movie with him putting the cyanide in the apple. And it was little things like that they did that helped us kind of walk us through the movie with a huge cast and complex characters and able to keep everything straight. So I really liked that. I thought the kind of the surprise of Rami Malek in there was awesome. I loved his court scene. That was incredible. The guy that they got to be Cobb, it really surprised me. They cast him. I think the last time I saw him, he was in one of the Terminator movies, like, kind of a B-C level movie, and he got thrown into this one. So I thought, again, everybody did an amazing job. The thing that really struck me about Oppenheimer and a number of the other scientists, and this will be the last point I make here and then throw it to the fellas, was kind of the trouble that incredibly brilliant people have operating in a normal world. Like, these guys are all like 160, 180, 200 IQ individuals, and they're operating and sometimes working for let's just say people that might not get it or have all the information or just be able to function at the level they're at. You know, when you're 2, 3, 4, 5 standard deviations, you know, beyond the average person, to go through life like that's got to be, you know, really tough, I would think. And I think they showed that brilliantly with Oppenheimer and a number of the other scientists. So what an absolute banger.
Yeah, I mean, where to begin? The acting was amazing. The cinematography was amazing. The score was amazing. The editing, just everything down to the littlest, minusculest thing was just well thought out, well done. Diamond Dave pointed out, like, we could see the dust and the stuff coming up on the screens. You pointed out the colors when they're in the interrogation room with the console, how the colors were set a little differently, and the lens, they might have used a little bit different lens, as we heard from, you know, Albert Hughes and Kirk Ward in an interview, that to maybe get that look of being in the, like, when is this supposed to take place? Like the
40s.
40s
We'll
and
just say
50s.
40s, yeah.
Essentially, the main plot of the story took place in the 40s.
Well, I was thinking about that part, but yeah, just how they just made the look and the feel of it. The score would just kept you on edge. I mean, me, it went to, and I wrote it down right away, is the silence after the test bomb went off, and all you heard was Oppenheimer breathing, just breathing, like wondering, because you can know what's going through his mind. Is this working? Is this going to work correctly? Did I just destroy the planet? Essentially, just all the thoughts going through his head, and he's breathing slow, deep and slow, and just it sucks you right in. Like, obviously we had fun with this. Like, during that scene, I made sure, because usually I leave one off, so that way, you know, I can hear the guys if we talk. I put both on because I did not want to miss a single thing, and I think we barely even spoke during that time. That's how important and amazing that shot was. And just the joy of the one guy running in going, "You owe me $10, you owe me $10. And then also seeing David Krumholtz, we remember him from 10 Things I Hate About You as being, you know, one of the comedic guys, mostly a comedic actor. This was, I think, the first time I've ever really seen him in like a serious role. Now, he did have a few jokes in there, but he was just amazing the way he did it. Yeah, right there. Yeah. David Krumholtz as Isidore Rabi, if that's how you say it. And it was refreshing to me to see him in an actual like serious role like that. And he just did a phenomenal job, because I know we can say everybody else did it great, which they did. I mean, I don't know who didn't leave everything on film, you know. I guarantee you they all just put their best foot forward, and it shows. It just looks amazing, but it was nice to see him in a serious role and rise to the occasion. And this movie was just, yeah, I wrote down 3 hours. There was no way. It felt like it was 45 minutes an hour, because and I was worried I'd be bombarded with information or not understand it fully, but to me, just the overall film itself was just amazing and right on point, and I couldn't have asked for a better movie.
Yeah. This film was absolutely incredible. You know, I've said multiple times on this channel when, you know, the topic of World War II comes up that I don't want to call myself a history buff, but I've, you know, immersed myself very deeply into the history of World War II. So I wasn't sure coming into this film if it was going to be a little bit more documentary style, more drama style. And as far as the actual information about the history of the war and the use of the bomb itself, it wasn't really anything that you wouldn't see in other documentaries. So they had him in the room with the higher ranking people talking about potential targets, morality of using it, and things like that. So that's stuff that's out there. And if you're not somebody who has, you know, really dove into the history of World War II, I encourage you to do that, because it's incredible. There's so much stuff online, obviously books, a million great documentaries that have now been put on YouTube. So the history was interesting, but it was limited, and I thought it was pretty much the perfect amount. And some of you might be saying, okay, well, this whole movie is a historical movie. And what I mean is the factual part of the war, the way this movie was shot, the use, I guess if there's anything that I'm really blown away by, it's the use of sound and the way they went back and forth between the way things was happening, the interrogation room, the use of colors, the way they color graded that, the black and white for the parts with Robert Downey Jr. it was just a filmmaking masterpiece. And we recently had an opportunity to do an interview with the showrunner, I think one of the executive producers from the Continental, Kirk Ward and Albert Hughes. And it was interesting because Kirk, as a showrunner, talked about sometimes when Albert's doing his technical side of things, he's like, oh, I really love that. That was cool. But he didn't really know what it was. And on the technical side, Albert was saying, okay, well, we did this. We used this lens. We did this. And I would love to just like sit down with Nolan or whoever was running that side and be like, what did you do here? Or explain this to me, or how you came up with this. Because the way they delivered the story, I think, is what was most incredible about this. Again, it's a historical movie and arguably one of the greatest, most impactful, best told historical movies I've ever seen. I mean, this was incredible.
I'm there with you.
And then on top of the visuals of it all, the acting. I mean, everyone, Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon. I mean, just everybody. I mean, they got so many heavy hitters in there.
Yeah.
Even just look at the interrogation room. Then we got Matthew Modine. We got so many, Josh Hartnett. So many incredible actors, and they all just did such an amazing job. But obviously, Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer carried the weight of this movie on his shoulders and delivered an absolutely incredible performance. And I don't much get overly invested in the Oscars, which is interesting because we do TV and movie reactions. But I feel like the Oscars are like, when they don't give it to the movies you want, you're like, Oscars. But when they do, you're like all fired up. Last year it was, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we were like, yeah, they got it right. But I would be shocked and blown away if this didn't win like everything. I mean, what should it not win? But just a phenomenal movie from start to finish, and one of the best pieces of storytelling. Right, like it's obviously a very incredible story, but the way they told it, the weight that bears on, as Mason Quinn had said, very intelligent people who make, whether it be discoveries or inventions that change the world. Obviously, that final scene with Albert Einstein, I think, was one of the most powerful in the entire movie. And I thought, Robert Downey's character, they were talking about me, and then his guy said, well, what if they weren't talking about you? And they weren't at all, and they were talking about something incredibly monumental. So again, from a historical standpoint, it was kind of kept at high level. From a storytelling standpoint, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Yeah, for me, shout out to the cast and crew on this one. I mean, everything that they did shows how important they kept every bit, even all the way to just the littlest things on this film, all the way to the biggest things. Nolan's crew crushed it. All the actors and actresses crushed it. I honestly thought we were going to get more of Florence. I was actually excited to see more of her, but hey, the story is the way it is in there. Emily Blunt, she turned it around pretty quick, because I was wondering how much.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, is she going to have to keep going down this path? And again, I understand, she's taking some real life events and, having to portray it on screen here. But man, that interrogation room scene with her where she
turn it on.
Yeah, just turned it on. It was just amazing.
She started off like the kind of the Babe in the Woods routine, and then just turned it around on him. It got vicious.
And when the first scene with Emily, where they showed, they had the kid, right, where the kid was. That whole thing was just crazy too. Like between her and Murphy, everyone did phenomenal. Even Matty D, and it's kind of funny. He didn't really need help in this film, so that's great to see. But what a crew that Nolan has, because I felt like we had shades of Dark Knight, shades of Interstellar because of the dialogue, and just going on beyond outside his normal crew that he brings in for the cast. I just thought that was phenomenal too. Shout out to the editor again. kind of forgot the name already, but dang it, shout out to you. I can only imagine what it was like editing this film. Shout out to the VFX and special effects crews, because I know Nolan likes to keep everything pretty practical. From the stories I read, I mean, the guy for Interstellar got 500 acres of corn and planted a cornfield just for a couple minutes in a film. Yep. So shout out to all of you. This film kind of shows a dark. I know it's focused on Oppenheimer and Strauss, their stories, right? But this does show quite a bit of the dark side of human nature. Now, granted, has all the war stuff in there and everything, right? But it took us out of the inside, which I've already admitted plenty of times I haven't seen really any war movies, which is why we've been doing them, so I could kind of see them. Those films were in it, right? Here, they showed us making it, they showed us testing it, and then they didn't show any real footage, right? They just, hey, we heard on the news or whatever, and then it was boom, back to story. So I thought that was unique on how Nolan did that, because I guess in my head I didn't know what to anticipate fully. I thought we were going to get some old news.
There's been so many movies that have done that. It's brilliant that he wanted to stand out and be different.
Yep. So I thought that was pretty unique of Nolan to do. And hey, shout out to probably one of the best weekends ever in movie history. I will probably, maybe that's too much, because you had Barbie that crushed it and made $1 billion. And then you had Oppenheimer, which is obviously everyone was calling a Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Talk about, can anyone tell me probably a better weekend than that? In
1989.
No, I guess it's coming up. Saw Patrol.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a great weekend for all film goers and story lovers, because you got the Barbie story, you got the Oppenheimer story. So what a weekend I'm sure that was for everybody to go to. And now I'm starting to understand the excitement for everyone that did that weekend, where they went to Barbie and then Oppenheimer, or Oppenheimer to Barbie. So shout out to all of you getting that experience.
A friend of mine did that.
Talk about pulling you in different directions.
He said he made sure he did Oppenheimer first.
I was say I'd probably end with Barbie.
Yeah, I would definitely.
It's Ryan Gosling having fun and Margot Robbie. All right.
I would definitely go with if you haven't seen either of them and you want to do your own at-home Barbenheimer experience, watch Oppenheimer first, and then watch Barbie afterwards. It'll
then watch our reactions to both.
Yeah. And then so quick question for all of you, because I lean on you guys quite a bit, and I might try to find some videos after this, because as I said in the intro, my lack of history isn't probably the greatest. But I will say, after this now, I definitely want to go back and research some more stuff to get properly educated on some of the stuff that I do know and how that expanded, and then some of the stuff that I thought maybe I knew but don't know, and the stuff that I don't know. So some of the dialogue in here, I'm wondering, is it pretty accurate? I guess I kind of said that throughout the reaction, because there's a lot. Dude, this film was loaded with dialogue.
Which ones were you referencing?
Well, I'd have to go back now. I mean, that was 3 hours.
I would think
it's only 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, just the stuff in their
general.
personal lives that, how would somebody know that if they weren't in the room, sort of stuff.
Yeah, was that real with Albert and Oppenheimer?
Yeah,
I think some of that stuff,
like how much of that conversation was actually true, or
and I touched on it a little bit. So they did have that scene where they were talking about the different cities and stuff like that, and that's legit, to a T accurate with everything that you're going to read on history regarding that sort of stuff. So historical factual stuff regarding military stuff with the war, from what I've seen, is perfectly in line with everything. But you bring up a really good point as far as his interaction with other scientists. I would guess who was all on the team was probably accurate, but
the conversations he had with his wife and everything.
Did one of them have a memoir, or the other have a memoir that they posted to say, we had this conversation?
Yeah, I mean,
that's as close as I think you're going to get.
And I think that's kind of the difficulty with filmmaking, is that how do you portray a one-on-one personal conversation with somebody.
It's hard.
Unless those very intimate conversations between Oppenheimer and Jane, Florence Pugh's character. How do you know what was actually said? And certain things are going to have to be dramatized.
Yep.
But I was pretty impressed. I'm like, okay, how are they gonna show any discussions that were regarding military stuff, and the stuff that they did from what I've all seen was spot on.
Yeah. Otherwise, like I said, there were some instances that reminded me of like the Apple wormhole. And then they started talking about the black hole, so just my mind went to Interstellar. And then we started seeing all the actors from Dark Knight Rises, and I'm like, man, we're getting quite the cast here. But other than that, I think my nitpick is, and this is, you can disregard this because it's just subjective. Entertainment is subjectiveness. That's what I always say. So for me, I don't know if it needed to be a full 3 hours. I mean, it did not feel like 3 hours.
Could have been 6.
It could have been an
and again, that's a nitpick that you can disregard. But otherwise, I thought the urgency throughout basically after the first 30 minutes.
It never stopped.
There was so much tension. I would have, it's interesting that Answer brought up what he did with his headphones, and now I wish I would have thought about doing that. But I have to imagine the people who saw that in the theater, it had to be rumbling. It had to be a ton of bass, and then boom, it probably just went quiet. And it was probably the most awkward silence. I don't even want to say it. I don't. That's the wrong term for it. Just the most interesting silence, powerful silence in a movie theater when you just had that rumbling, and the oranges and the reds and the yellows on the screen, and then just boom, quiet.
Yeah,
and then you just hear the breathing.
Yeah, that was nuts.
The thing that's kind of fascinating with a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies is that he finds a way to explain very complex things in a way that the audience will understand, and the way he does it, and he makes me feel smart. So thank you for that. And I know that, and I don't know if you guys, I know we're running long here, but I wanted to get this out to you guys. Every director, they seem like they have a real project that they eventually want to do. Like they have their grand film they eventually want to do and think about it. And I just wonder, and I'm gonna have to look into it, and maybe you folks in the comments could help, but was this Nolan's pinnacle type movie that he wanted to make? Because man, to top this, I have no idea what he's gonna do.
The one thing that I will say about that from a directing standpoint is obviously Nolan's done absolutely huge stuff, but when you have the opportunity to take something as monumental in world history as this, it's got to be a little bit different. And look, the Batman stuff, I mean, Interstellar, phenomenal movies, but this is a true story about one of the most impactful things to happen in world history. And so it has to be a different sort of project for somebody like that, as to whether that's something that they're really excited about, or maybe something that weighs on them a little bit heavier because they're telling a true story. Maybe for him it was more fun to do Batman, or more fun to do Interstellar, and this was a project where it weighed heavier. But definitely a great insight there. We're all kind of just
I just
blown away. There's a lot of movies that we've watched where I was really impressed with, and this just
next level.
It just feels it feels different. There's this may, as far as a reaction goes, this may have been the least dialogue we've had between each other.
Well, I mean, we couldn't even we had to. For me, I felt like I had to be sharp.
And
then I knew I was going to be talking over the dialogue
to try to drop in there.
That's what I was saying. This film had so much dialogue. I don't know.
And it pulls. The other interesting thing that I think about this film is that it sucks you in so much, but for me at least, it didn't yank the feels one. We weren't laughing. We weren't crying, we weren't really crying. It was powerful emotion.
Yeah, it was.
But does that make sense? And if that makes sense, you're happy, you're sad, there's joy, there's whatever. This was so emotional and so powerful, but it kept you at obviously there was anticipation, like Diamond Dave brought up, but as far as like it was just a different emotional experience. It's so powerful. This movie is just
it's so serious, and it's obviously based on a true story, so they're gonna have those powerful moments, but they did at least sprinkle in a little bit of humor here and there, because you gotta
gotta have a little
levity in it. But
appreciate the levity.
It was just amazing through and through.
Yeah, like I said, it feels like there's movies and then there's Oppenheimer.
There's this.
I mean,
nothing else needs to be said for me, folks. 5 out of 5 answers. Getting right to it.
This had a different number wrote in front of it, but
yeah.
I mean,
5 and legendary status, in my opinion.
If I could draw a little quick Oscar trophy, I would. But there it is.
Yeah. It's the easiest 5.
One of the easiest 5s I think we've had to give here. I mean,
yeah, and it's 5 on another level. Like I said, this gives every other movie that's been considered the greatest movie ever made.
A thicker one.
I think a run for its money.
Yeah, I think this is easy 5. I mean, this movie is. It's really in a league of its own.
Oh, Dobby.
I knocked over.
No, that's okay. I'll fix it. Just keep going.
I really think this movie is just in a whole league of its own, and it's hard for me to articulate exactly, how this movie made me feel. But it's really, it stands alone.
Yeah. So I'm definitely these guys have 5s. Yeah, I'm not giving it a 5. Still a fantastic film. I'm giving it a 4.3. That's still really good. I mean, let's not dramatize it here. 4.3 for me. Again, was I sucked in? Yes. Now, for emotional, yeah, I've had other films that impacted me a lot more. Did I give those 5s? No. But I would still say you should check it out. I would definitely recommend it to everybody. The cast crushed it, all of them. The crew crushed it, all of them. Nolan, you did well, my man. I can't wait to see what your next project is. Again, 4.3 for this guy.
Jaws on the floor.
Oh yeah, this was a great film. We had a lot of fun watching it. I don't know if that's the right word.
It was an experience.
It was a great experience. It's a great experience. Yeah. Powerful and just amazing. So for Diamond Dave, Appleton Oak, that's Mason Quinn. I'm of course Answer. Good night, pals.